Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Jo and welcome back to my channel. So I think the last time I was here was probably like 3 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that I was reading a lot of high fantasy. That ship sailed. I am not. I don't really have time for high fantasy. I have a lot of brain power that's going towards schoolwork and work and stuff. So I don't have the brain power to keep up with these high fantasy worlds and the magic systems that I used to love. So what I've been doing is I have been reading a ton of romance, fantasy romance, mafia romance, sci-fi romance, alien romance, all of the romance, monster romance, which I didn't think that I would be into, but girl, let me tell you. So today I figured I would share with you some of my absolute favorite romance books that I have read recently. Recently being like in the past 4 months. Kinda recent, kinda not recent, a little bit recent. It doesn't matter. It's very difficult to sit here and talk to these little lenses that are on me. I feel very awkward, but that's okay. We're gonna work through this together, guys. We're gonna work through this together. And I keep moving. Sorry, I'm in a swivel chair. And I'm nervous, so I'm swiveling. So anyway, let's just get right into it before I embarrass myself even further. Okay, so the first books that I want to talk about are actually a series, a sub-series, an author in general, if you will, and that is Sophie Lark's Mafia Romance series. I have absolutely been loving this. My friend Jen from the Book Refuge pretty much told me to read them. She said, Jo, you gotta read them. You gotta read them. And I did. It was fantabulous. Okay, so the first, I think 6 books in the series, 5 or 6 books in the series are the Brutal Birthright series. And this series predominantly follows 2 different mafia families. It's set in Chicago. We follow the Gallows and the Griffins. And the first book is kind of like a enemies to lovers, forced marriage, forks? Where are we, Twilight? I don't know. Forced proximity trope, which I absolutely loved. So the first book follows Callum Griffin and Ada Gallo as their families are having to come to the decision to kind of bring their families together after Ada accidentally sets a little bit of a fire in Callum's library. So of course the families decide that their feud has pretty much gone on long enough, and if it keeps on going, somebody's gonna end up dead. They're all gonna end up dead if it's gonna be a bad time. So they decide to pretty much marry Callum and Ada together, and of course they fall in love. It's fantastic. Sophie Lark's writing style is super accessible. Her romances are to die for. I absolutely love them. My favorite book in the series is book 4, Bloody Heart. It's a second chance romance between Dante Gallo and Simone Solomon as they come back together after a whirlwind romance and some time apart. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. I love it so much. Now, after you finish the Brutal Birthright series, you get into her Underworld series, which is where you find my absolute favorite couple, romance, hero, man of the entirety of the books that I've read by her. My favorite in the Underworld series is Snow by Sophie Lark. Snow is a badass underground boxer, and Sasha is actually coming back from medical school as a doctor, where she finds that her family is a little bit not so well off as they were before, and they're in trouble with the Russian mafia. And of course, she has to make a deal, and then she meets Snow, and it's just beautiful. Snow makes my heart flutter, and he comes back in the later books, and I absolutely love him so much. Okay, so the second series that I really want to talk about is the Horde Kings of Dakar series by Zoe Draven. This is an alien romance series. I told you we was getting into the alien romance, the monster romance type of stuff. This series is set on the planet of Dakar, which is obviously not Earth, in which 30 years ago humans were forced to settle on this planet due to some I don't know, things that happened. They're forced to settle on this planet. And the Horde Kings native to this planet are tasked with kind of upholding the law of the land and defending against threats to the planet and their gods. And it follows the Horde Kings and their human girlfriends and mates and stuff. I love it. I love it so much. Anyway, so the first book of this series is called Captive of the Horde King, and it follows a woman named Luna whose brother makes a mistake that attracts the attention and wrath of a Horde King, and she ends up offering her life instead of her brother's. And of course, romance ensues, things ensue. It's beautiful, it's steamy, it's perfect. I love it so much. Thank you very much. So my favorite in this series is called Broken by the Horde King. It is another second chance romance. What is my problem with second chance romances? I never really was into second chance, but now that I've read these and the Sophie Lark one, and I'm just like, I love second chance romance. Anyway, this follows two childhood sweethearts, kind of childhood sweethearts, kind of unrequited love in childhood, and something happens, they're separated, there's anger, there's angst, there's fabulousness when they come back together, and it is just beautiful and emotional and wonderful, and I cried. So yeah, so following along with the alien romance subject here, the next series that I want to talk about is the Spider-Mates trilogy by Tiffany Roberts. This series, if you even look at the covers out, like, it looks weird, right? It looks freaking weird. It's a monster romance. It's an alien romance. I promise you, it is fantastic. So this is an alien romance between Catan, who is literally Spider-Man, not Peter Parker, but Spider-Man, and Ivy Foster, who is a human woman found by Catan in a kind of cryo chamber type spaceship thing in a hole in the ground. So the thing that surprised me about the series was, since it was my first book by Tiffany Roberts and I had just started getting into the romance genre in general when I read this, I loved the plot. Outside, I mean, the steam is fantastic. The relationship is fantastic. The romance is literally to die for, and Catan is one of the sweetest heroes that I've ever read in my entire life. But the plot is so amazing. Sometimes I was crying, sometimes I was laughing. A lot of the times I was on the edge of my seat just waiting for something bad to happen because I didn't know if it had a happy ending. You know, it was just fantastic. It is so much fun, and I genuinely loved it. The steam, like I said, was fantastic. Catan is the sweetest hero you've ever met in your life. And it's got fated mates, and spiders are apparently hot. Yeah, that's something to contemplate. Okay, so the next series that I want to talk about is something that I have not seen anybody on BookTube talk about. I've not seen anybody on Book talk about, and that is the Broken Lands series by T.A. White. This series is fantastic. I originally found this on some random blog post. I just looked up fantasy romance books, and this was on there for some reason. I don't know. It was a random blog post. I don't even know what blog it was from, but it is fantastic. I think there's 5 books out in the series now. I have not read the 5th one, and I am dying to read it. It is so good. Now, why don't I tell you what it's about? So I just stop gushing. Okay. So the first 3 books in this series follow a girl named Shea. I don't know how to pronounce her name because I've never heard anybody talk about it before. So she is a female pathfinder, and the pathfinder are a people who have trained and can navigate through the land and the dangers that the land poses. And she is captured. Well, she's kind of sold out and then captured by a Triteri warlord. The Triteri are a people who are pretty much bent on conquest of the land, and of course our main character is not too happy about her capture, and she tries to escape, and so she eventually has to make the decision whether she wants to help the warlord because her skills as a pathfinder would be invaluable to him in his conquest of the land, or if she wants to go back to her previous life where she is not too well respected as one of the only female pathfinders. It is fantastic. I love it so much. And if you've read the Horde Kings of Dakar series, this has the same sort of vibes. The Horde King, the capture, the land, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I absolutely loved this series. I love the writing. I want to reread it so bad. It's one of my absolute favorites that I've read recently, and I think everyone should read it. And that's all. My favorite book in that series is actually the 4th book, The Wind's Call, and this actually follows another character because the first 3 books follow Shea, and whatever her name is, and the 4th and the 5th book follow Eva, who is a herd mistress who's actually chosen to tag along with a Triteri horde due to a really bad bad betrayal that happened in her village. And this book has magical creatures. It has hot guys throughout the whole series. The plot is bomb. It's fantastic plot. The romance is bomb. The steam is bomb. Everything is fantastic, and I think everyone should read it. Thank you. Okay, so the last book that I want to talk about is something that is near and dear to my heart. So very near and dear to my heart that I had to bind it myself. It's beautiful. It's manacled. This is a Harry Potter fan fiction. It's a Hermione fan fiction. It's a Draco and Hermione, which was my absolute favorite ship from the books and the movies. Immediately following the incident where Hermione slaps Draco in the face. So don't even talk to me. It's a honker. It's a honker. It will break your heart and rebuild it, and it is fantastic. So the fan fiction is pretty much like a Harry Potter mixed with Handmaid's Tale, kind of based on the premise of what if Harry and the gang didn't win the war against Voldemort? What would happen if the wizarding world was now ruled by Valdi and his dudes? It's fantastic. Like I said, it will break you. It will put you back together. I was sobbing. I was crying. I was heaving. I was throwing things. I may have died a little bit inside during the course of reading this book, but it is fantastic. It is so heartwarming, heart-wrenching, heart. There's just a lot of heart in there. It does have a lot of triggers in it, so check your trigger warnings. But the writing in this book is spectacular. The author really knows what she's doing. She is fantastic. It's got enemies to lovers, and then enemies again, and then lovers again. So pretty much the premise of this book is in order to repopulate the magical world after the war, and because pureblood wizards have a hard time procreating, Valdilicious has implemented a Handmaid's Tale like scenario in which the half-bloods or muggle-borns or whatever are now being sent as kind of like concubines, sex slaves to these highfalutin dudes in Valdi's gang of evilness. So obviously Hermione Granger gets sent to be the sex slave of the High Reeve, who is Draco Malfoy. I love it so much. If you're a little bit weird about fan fiction and have, preconceived notions like I did, just hop into it and give it a chance. It is so fantastic. And like I said, it's dork, but baby girl, is it fantastic. Okay, so those are all of my recent favorite romance series, books, things. Let me know down below if you have any other series that you would like for me to check out. I would love more recommendations because I have been reading like someone who does not have homework to do, yet I do. That's all I have for you guys today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you hopefully soon. Bye.